What's going on, everybody? It's TheNidien. We got Witcher 2 here on Witcher Wednesday, and this is the second part of the prologue. This is the morning. And what we're going to do is finally get into some fighting. There's a little skill, a little assassin skill that we can pick up. We find an Assassin's Creed assassin that happened to miss a little pile of hay, I should say. I don't know why, it kind of completely blanked my mind there. But we find an assassin that missed a pile of hay. And it was kind of funny that these developers put all this pop culture stuff in here and there, but it's pretty interesting. Now, like I said before, you can go ahead and skip most of this. If you've already played the prologue, say this is your second playthrough or whatever, you probably already know this by now, but you can go ahead and skip most of this and not really worry about it. But like I said, I don't know if you pick up the skills that you could have found hiddenly. If you do, I mean, that'd be worth skipping an hour or whatever and getting right into the meat of the game. But as you can see here from our previous video, we got into this big old tower, and we're coming up here, and we're finally getting into some battle. The tower opens up, and we get in here, and we finally first get our little action. And this is where I wasn't really expecting the combat, because I didn't really look into The Witcher 2 at all, and the combat was really actually kind of satisfying that it was like this, because most RPGs, for example, the Game of Thrones, I picked up the Game of Thrones last night, and it's turn-based. Kind of threw me off for a second. I wasn't expecting that, but we're going to get through that game even though it's got horrible reviews after it's came out, and I probably should have checked the reviews, but it is what it is. You know, sometimes you take a gamble, and it either pays off real good like Darksiders, or sometimes you take a gamble like Game of Thrones, and it's a little bit iffy, but we'll see how I take it as everybody's perception. So you got to come out here and you got to kill a couple guys, and it's nothing major. Most of the guys are already taken up. They're not really going to hit you. They will turn on you, but for the most part, you have nothing to worry about. Just jump back and forth, slaughter these guys up, and then you can see that we're going to get into a little action. He sends his guys off to do this and to do that, and there's just so much to this game, and that's what I really like about it. This is the way RPGs are supposed to be made. You know, just like, you know, Kingdoms of Amalur has a little bit of that easiness to it, and this game has that little bit of unforgiving difficulty to it, so you're going to have different takes from different developers. One thing that I found here when we get up here is you're going to want to drink potions. I went down there. I've had a few battles where I got surrounded, and the potions really would have helped out. And other times I've been okay without potions, but for the most part, this is where I learned that you're going to have, or I shouldn't say gonna have to have, but should have potions running at all times. Because what this does is pretty much allow you to regen health during combat, which is almost a must in certain situations. There's a few boards that I've run into later in the game that are a little bit darker, so it lets you see the veins and glowing enemies through walls and everything else. And not to mention, you can take 10% less damage, among many other things. So the potions really save you. And you can see, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with the games, it's not drink 18 different potions and have 30 different effects for half an hour. These are, you know, you can only drink so many potions. Certain potions fill up that little poison meter, and if you fill up the poison meter, you will die. And I thought was a really, really interesting take on potions, because like I said, there's other games where you can take literally every potion in your inventory, have buffs running for 10, 20, 30 minutes, and just be an unstoppable machine, and it's almost overkill. So I really, really enjoyed what they've done here, and it kind of makes you think going into certain situations. Okay, maybe I'm coming to a boss, maybe I want to use these. Maybe I'm just fighting regular mobs and running around, maybe I want to use these. And it was really interesting. Now what you're going to see here is we got to come down here and fight a bunch of guys, and we got to get the ballista cocked up, fight a bunch of other guys, and all this other stuff. And the combat, like I said, was really, I'm starting to really get used to it a lot more. This was probably, I may look like I know what I'm doing here for the most part, but I really don't. I'm still having a bunch of issues, as you're going to see me come up here, and I'm going to have to take a run around. But I've also learned that using your heavy strike is pretty much a must. I know you get the light strike, you can lock down an enemy, and I use that quite a bit maybe when there's one or two, and if I can get one in the corner, you can just pretty much negate all their skill abilities by just whacking them with the fast ability. And then they may bring their shield back up or something if you start using your heavy attack. So it's one of those things you got to kind of really pay attention to and kind of go in with an open mind depending on what type of NPC you're fighting. You know, like these guys, you got the guy with the two-handed sword, he parries. You got the guy with the shield, he obviously blocks. and it becomes really interesting because when you do parry, you do take a little bit of damage. Now there's skills that you can negate some of that with later on as we level up and so on and so forth, but you have to really watch out because I did get into a boss fight a little bit later on before I restarted, and even though I blocked, you know, he put the bleed effect on me and he still hit me for a good chunk of change, and then the bleed effect ended up killing me. So it's one of those things you have to pay attention to the potions you're using depending on the mob. You have to pay attention to the style of fighting that you're going to go into with a mindset. You may want to use traps more often. You may want to use your Witcher ability Ignite that I found a lot. You may want to use the Witcher ability where it kind of is just a wind pushback. You got a bunch of different things. You got the shield, and you kind of have to play out where you want to take your character and use your strengths to your advantages and your weaknesses, kind of keep your opponent out of your weakness areas. And it's really, really interesting how they played that out. I can't say enough about this game. And probably after I get through playing this, I'm going to go pick up The Witcher 1 and see how that kind of played out and see what was a little bit different as far as that goes. So here we go. We cocked up the ballista, or actually we loaded it up, and then we got to aim it. So every time you do one of these little situations, more guys are going to come. Here, you know, you got 3. Maybe they come from the back. Sometimes they come from the front. It's a little bit different, and sometimes they can come out and boom, they got you surrounded. So what I usually like to do is take these little guys out first that really aren't going to bother me too much, and then just work our way down to the bigger guys, and then I can kind of deal with them a lot better. You don't see me throw a lot of bombs here. You don't see me throw a lot of traps, and pretty much every time I've set down a trap or thrown a bomb, you'll see me throw a bomb here in a little bit, but it pretty much has never worked out for me too well. I've either blown myself up with bombs, I go to set the trap down, and by the time I get it up and running, I can't get out of the way fast enough, and they're already into the trap. It blows me up as well. So it's one of those things. I got to really learn up on my timing. I got to really pay attention to what I'm doing as far as traps and bombs go. I like how when you throw a bomb, it kind of slows down time, but I don't like how when an NPC throws a bomb, I mean, they just toss it out like almost instant. Just whoop, instant, and the bombs in the game, even on normal, the poison bombs and the fire bombs can almost one-shot you, if not one-shot you at times if they do hit you on a crit, and it's kind of crazy. So you got to really be paying attention, and the bombs are extremely, extremely hard to dodge if you do come across a boss that wants to decide to throw some bombs. So here I am, I'm cleaning it up. I aimed it, and we got to finish this up, and then we're going to fire it off and go into a little nice little cinematic, and then we can move on to the rest of the areas. But after we fire it here, you're going to see that I didn't notice it the first time. I didn't notice second or third time that I've done this prologue. I've done it quite a bit, actually, and I've been trying different things out. But here we go. We fire this off. We blow this thing up, and then we kind of move on. That kind of opens up for the rest of our army, and you can see a little bit of a graphical glitch in the back of my little headpiece there. But if you come down around here after you fire it off, or you can do it really much anytime, here's this little assassin here, kind of missed the hay pile and went kersplat down there. I thought that was extremely good little joke that they put out there, a little pop culture on some of the more popular games. And you see this throughout this game, throughout the dialogue. There's a Lord of the Rings reference, among many other things, and it's really interesting. So after you go get the assassin, you're going to have to climb a bunch of ledges. It's nothing major. There's probably about 3 or 4 guys to take out. They're really they're easy guys. They're not the guys with the shield. They don't have a two-hander. It's just the guys with the crossbows, and most of the time you can get a hold of them before they even pull out their sword and take them down. It's these guys with the shield and the guys with the two-hander, and then later on you're going to see here in just a little bit a big old knight with a two-hander. They're a little bit more difficult to take out, but this Ignite spell here pretty much handles them soundly. From what I found, even on normal mode, you can spam, you can hit it twice real quick, takes them down for a good chunk of health, get a couple swings in before they decide to parry you, and then move on. Right there, I kind of just faded it out, but there's a bunch of guys on the top of the tower. You can go up there, take care of that, and then loot up. I didn't really, one thing that was kind of interesting, and actually it's kind of annoying at times, but when you're in a battle and you fight a bunch of guys, you have to wait like 5+ seconds before you can start running around and loot. So when you get in situations like that, you kill everybody, and then I was trying to loot. The guys run up top, they're fighting, I go up top, and then I have to sit there and wait a good, 30-40 seconds before I can start looting everything up. Well, it's about 5 seconds wait time before you can start looting, and then, you know, going around and looting everything up that you missed. So on the PC, it may be a little bit different on the console since they ported it over, but for the most part, I think it's the same. I'm not exactly sure. If you guys know if it's a little bit different on the console, if you can do like almost instant pickup loot, or maybe I'm just missing an option here where I can instant pick up loot, let me know, because that's one of the things that kind of annoys me. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's wait it out. Pick up the loot, let's move on, you know, type thing, instead of just boom, 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 loading it up, or possibly just having it go in your inventory automatically. But then again, if it went in your inventory automatically, you spend a ton of time trying to get it all out of your inventory because you can only carry so much weight. So, once you kill that big old guy in the black outfit there, you're going to come up and go up, and it's going to come into this cutscene. Now, this was interesting, and I'm not exactly sure. This kind of plays out like you have two decisions here, and I've done both of them as far as the prologue goes. And it kind of shows you, gets you used to seeing how your consequences are going to kind of play out different areas of the game. Now, you see this guy up here. There's two things you can do. You can either attack him and kill him, depending on how you want to play the story, or you can kind of talk him into surrendering and then being tortured and everything else. But what that does is once you get out of this little prologue here with the dawn in the morning, and then you go up to the monastery, and you kind of start the rest of the prologue where you have to escape the prison, it kind of plays out differently. If you keep him alive, you save him, and then he ends up blowing the place up. I do believe he ends up dying either way, but he ends up blowing the place up, and it's a completely different ending than the prologue. So I don't want to give you guys too much for those of you guys that are picking it up and wanting to kind of play it. I'm going to do most of this and kind of keep... I really don't know how to do it without... Because obviously, when we do this, there's a lot of consequences I may take, so other people may take these other consequences, and it's going to play their game out completely different. So we'll see how this plays out, but I'm just letting you know this is not a major consequence, but it does play out the ending of the prologue a little bit different. So you're going to come down here. The best way I found to get across that bridge, you can get killed getting across that bridge. I have got killed trying to get across that bridge by trying to wait and leveling up and kind of diddly-daddling around and spending too much time kind of screwing around. So the best way I found to get across that is just run, start rolling, because those guys are going to be cocking up their crossbows when you come around the corner, and just start getting on them and start whacking, because you got 3 more guys that they eventually, if you stall around too much, they will come down and attack you, and it can be a real mess. Any one of these situations as far as combat goes can go from good to bad in a hurry, and it's just one of those things. That's what I'm saying. That's why I love the unforgiving combat of this. It's just anything could happen at any given time, and you have to be on your toes, and it keeps you kind of moving and looking and using your skills and all this other stuff instead of just whack, 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 mob's dead, whack, 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 mob's dead. You don't have to really worry about anything. You can take 450 hits, and this game just plays it out where if you get hit in the back, you get hit a lot harder than you would if you got hit in the front, so on and so forth. So we're talking to this guy here, and you can kind of see how this can play out either way. He's pretty much says, he's talking to his guys here. The guys don't want to surrender, but you can make them surrender. You kind of talk him into it, and he'll throw down his sword, and he doesn't really look too happy about it. And later on, you see him; he's all beat up if you go that route, and it's a completely different. I decided this go around he wanted to do a little sword fight, get his nobility, and he's been dreaming about it, and I'm like, you know what, let's fight this guy, see how it plays out. Now, an interesting thing that I was kind of wondering here is you can talk him into it being between you and him. Now, I was also wondering if outside of that, if you have 3 choices. Now, if you can talk him out of it being you and him, if you can talk him out into surrendering, and if you kind of just go a different route and you kind of get ballsy, that you could be fighting him and all those other guys at the same time up here, and that could get real interesting. Let me know if you kind of done that route and you're like, whoa, and kind of loaded up a save and kind of just went back and tried to talk him into it being just through him. That would be really cool if they got so many of these different circumstances going on. Yeah. So we're playing him out. This guy's pretty easy. It's pretty much straightforward. You can dodge his attacks, throw bombs, hit him with the Igni. The Igni spell here doesn't really do too much to him, so I just decided to kind of roll around, let him do his own thing, hit him with the Igni, and kind of parry and kind of counter his attacks like you see me doing here. You can see the screen kind of jerking around with my nerves going a little bit. You know, the mouse, I have it set up to like 2,000 DPI when I was playing shooters. I still got to play with that when it comes to RPGs, but you're going to see a lot of shaking me moving around and everything else. It's crazy. It's not the game. That's actually me going a little bit bonkers on my wrist here, and just the overall, I think I'm just shaking at all times because my blood is made of amp energy drink by this point in time. And it looks like a big old storm's coming in outside. Craziness. But here we go. We killed them. All the guys are kind of like, and mad about it. It looked like they wanted an attack, but they're upset. They throw down the sword like they're disgusted with us. So those guys are gone. And you notice here that they use a lot of the same faces and body structures to fill in a lot of these different guys. They almost all look the same. It's kind of interesting, but it's not as bad as what you're going to see with Game of Thrones once we get into that. So once you do that, you kind of go in, you talk a little bit about the monastery, and that's the morning part of this game. I love this game, and I can't wait to get it in more. And now that we got my webcam up, you're going to see a lot of more interesting live comms, and we're going to get going. So we got Diablo 3 and the Game of Thrones coming here later this week. As always, guys, keep your heads up. Have a great day. Peace. What's going on, everybody? I just want to let you guys know you can hit on my Tales of Grace's F playthrough over on Tour de Force, and why Adam just started up Max Payne 3 today. So if you're looking for a playthrough of that, head on over there and check that out. If you missed my last Witcher video last Wednesday, I got a link for you guys too. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Go over and check me out on Justin TV, Twitter, and Facebook.com. Go over and say hi to the boys and girls over on VSO Gamer and VidThru's page. I hope to see you guys there soon. And as always, keep your heads up. Have a great day. Peace.